shared that a yard site is a very big crossroads. The part of the human heart that wants to protect itself from pain tries to use a yard site as some form of closure. It's been a year. There's a reason why we only say Kaddish for 11 months. And one of the reasons from the side of Kabbalah is because after that, our prayers can't reach to how far she's ascended. And I've watched it at a blessed memory for 40 years, non-stop, every single yard site, fighting with all of us, telling us do not ever use a yard site as a closure. Quite the contrary. Use it as yet another connection, another opening. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it would be a lot easier if we would have closure. But that would be wrong, not because we're denying Rosi anything, but because we're denying ourselves a very, very precious mentor and friend. I personally, I have Rosi's picture by the door so that every single day before I start my day, I can have a moment with her. So people, this is not a yard site culminating, closing. It's just demanding of us to find a way to stay connected to a Rosi that has been elevated even into higher spirituality. With that being said, it is the norm for people that when you have in your head, in your mind, a memory of a picture of someone that you so deeply love, it's the respectful thing not to use the picture of when the person was already sick. You portray a picture of, as they say, Shloima B'Shaitoi, in her glorious moment. And yet, the picture I have in my mind is the Shavuos right before she passed away, when I was sitting with her. Why? In Hasidus it says, you know how overfilled a barrel is, not by what's in the barrel, but by the little drops that's breaking out through the sides of the barrel, because it's so overfilled. If you want to really know how strong, great, the level of beauty and regality that Rosi has embodied, that Shavuos, when I was sitting there, yes, Rosi was extremely frail, but the regality did not leave her for one moment. That distinct beauty that you felt when Rosi walked into that room, as she was telling me, don't think I'm giving up. It's just not my choice anymore. She was glowing in her full power of royalty and regality at a state of being tired. It's amazing how at some point people take the right to not have to look so good, because people will understand. How can you not understand? Don't you know what I'm going through, my health situation? Rosi has never dropped her guard on maintaining that Bas Melech regality, the way she sat, the way she spoke, even when she was too weak to lift her own arm. So what I want to share with you is, when we talk about regality, we're talking about royalty in the times of pain and suffering. We're talking about the truest definition of how deep regality is. I heard that Warren Buffett said in the 1980s, when the market was toppling. He said this line, "Until now, everyone was swimming in the pool. It was glorious. Mortgages couldn't even stop the bank from giving it to you." He says, now the water's emptying out. We'll get to see who's wearing the bathing suit. It's in the moments of difficulty where you really get to see who is genetically composed of regality, royalty. That is how I remember Rosie specifically in that last time that I got to sit and speak with her. So let's take this into Divrei Torah. There's a medrash that says, just as the neshama fills the body, God fills the universe. And then it says, however you should know, Ein Kadosh Kashem. There is nothing as holy as God. What does that mean? So the question is, what does the word holy mean? When a chassan tells a kala under the chuppah, Harei at mikudeshet. I mean, he's making her holy. More often than not, she's the one that's going to end up making him holy. So what exactly does it mean, Harei at mikudeshet? And the answer is that the word kadosh actually means separated. What the man is telling the woman is that from this moment on, you are separated from everyone else unto me. So the word kadosh means separated. So what is the pasuk telling us when it says Ein kadosh Hashem? There is none holy as God. So it explains that every sin, the neshama, when it's in the body and it has to give life to the body, it needs to expose itself to be affected by the body. When you have a headache, your neshama is affected. When you're not eating healthy, your neshama is affected. To quote the great Maggid, a small hole in the body creates a big hole in the soul. So that's why the soul, as kadosh as it is, but it has to make itself vulnerable to what it's engaging with. Then the prophet tells us, Ein kadosh Hashem. There is none as holy as God, because the power of God is that as He fills this world, connects with this world, vivifies this world, He still remains kadosh. This dichotomy of having to so engage and yet remain a certain disassociation so that you're not affected, that is the definition of Kiddusha. Hence, the reason why I picked this topic today is precisely for that. Rosi, I would say, is the epitome of a title I once gave to a lecture, literally focusing on her. The lecture was A Beautiful Woman in a Less Than Beautiful World. The gift of beauty, the Gemara says that 9/10 of beauty was given to the woman. Now the question is, what is the definition of beauty in Torah? The Torah makes an interesting point. It tells us that Yosef was beautiful, Zipporah was beautiful. What does beauty mean? So I'm going to share with you what I once told a high school class of girls. You have a bunch of teenagers sitting in the sitting room with their foot on the coffee table, talking what we call trash. In comes a woman. Now, one of two things is going to happen. Either that woman is not going to be able to affect the boys. So therefore, not only will they continue talking trash, they might even throw an inappropriate comment to the woman. Then there is a type of women like Rosie. I don't know any teenager that was talking trash with their foot on the coffee table, that when Rosie walked into the room, the foot wouldn't go down, it wouldn't sit up, and the top would change. That is the definition of beauty. Beauty is that which reaches out, grabs you by the back of your collar, and pulls you up. You just feel, no, guys, we'll continue this later. Not now. That's why the woman is compared to Shabbat. That's why Shabbat is called beauty. Because that's what it does to us. We have these souls that are empowered not only to be beautiful in your own arena. Of course, when you walked into Rosie's home, you knew, hey, leave the stuff outside, you're going into Sabi and Rosie's home. But when Rosie stepped into your home, and you were taking the new generational thing, you know, the .coms and the way past that you come to your office with sneakers and shorts and t-shirts, a whole new generation. When Rosie walked in, that whole garbage just stopped in a second. You spoke differently. You sat differently. That's the power of a beautiful woman in a less than beautiful world. When we talk about the Shoah, one of the things that is very clear that the Nazi Yamach Shalom tried to do was to dehumanize the Jew. And that's why the pictures that we have of the Shoah is the most horrific ones. Not because they were trying to show how terrible they're treating them, quite the contrary. They wanted you to have an image of a Jew void of the human image. So they shaved their heads. So they took away their name and gave them a number. And yet the one thing they were never able to do was to rob the Jew of the divine image that was placed in them. The previous Rebbe of us memory said to know that our bodies are taken into exile, our souls never go into exile. Because even though in exile our soul is with us, En Kadosh Hashem, there is none as holy as God that has to engage with hell and remain still in its own environment of heaven. Rosie was coming back from Israel together with Sabi after that horrific turn in her health. So I'm going to share with you that Rosie has a dear friend, Ruthie Marks, her sister is here. And Rosie knew that Ruthie did not get a very good diagnosis. Rosie flew back from Israel because of her own health situation, makes a stop on the way home to deliver a plant in front of Ruthie's house, to call Ruthie and say, there's a plant by your door. Because Ruthie had an affinity to plants and flowers. En Kadosh Hashem. So many of us try to use any reason to be able to let go of the image of God upon us, thinking that people have to understand. Don't you understand? Don't you know what I'm going through? What really expect me now to be the elegant? Chemo, up, down, running, water, I mean everything that's going on, throwing up. Really? You expect me now to look my best? Most of us use the slightest reason to throw our image of God out the window. For example, get cut off on the 95 and watch the words that come out of your mouth. Not something you would talk in front of Rosie. And yet Rosie was the exact opposite. When she had all the reason in the world to put it upon us to oversee, that for once we're seeing Rosie not in her fullest dynamics of regality. And even then, En Kadosh Hashem, Because while my body is being torn apart by cancer, my soul is forever the Baditcha Ve'eniko, Rosi Behar. If there's something we should learn and take into our lives, let's just think about those moments. And I, just for the record, I am not preaching to you any more than I am talking to myself, because only God knows the conversations I have with Him when no one else is around and things aren't going good. Not something I would be proud of to say that I'm a friend of Rosi. So I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to each and every one of us. The job of this yahrzeit is to bring Rosi deeper into our lives. And the way we do that is by taking something that we were so touched, so amazed, so turned into divine because of knowing Rosi. I'm going to share that what I think each and every one of us should take is, whenever something goes wrong, whenever we hear that type of drop in news that we think we now have the license to act less than divine, less than humane, less than beautiful, not be nice to other people, not care about other people, because now it's me. I am hurt. I am suffering. I am fighting for survival. I'm sorry, you're just going to have to understand that I can't be there for you right now. Remember, Rosi. Remember what it means that even in prison, a princess is a princess. Even in sickness, forced to physically experience things that are far from regal, far from what Rosi ever deserved. And Rosi took it literally with the image of God upon her face. You walked in there to give, and you walked out realizing that you received. So people, when we talk about the image of God upon us, and carrying that everywhere, not just when things are good, not just when we're by our Shabbos table, but when we're hooked up to an IV, literally with no strength, and someone comes in, and you're like, really? I have to say hi right now to that person? Rosi taught us that the power of the image of God is infinite, and hence it remains intact, shining in every situation. I want to share with you that right after the passing of Rosi, as I mentioned, there were two good friends, Rosi and Ruthie, in our community. We immediately, with the permission from the families, we began a Sefer Torah. We are right now, thank God, in the latter half of the Devarim. We should be receiving it by the end of the summer, and we will have, God willing, before the high holidays, the Siyum and the Achnasa, and hence, Rosi will always be with us in our shul. Just to make it available to the public, because people asked me. So, the name of the Sefer Torah was sponsored by Sabi and his children, and Kim and his children. The crown was sponsored by Peter and Leslie Markovich in memory of their son. The 5 books, 4 of the 5 books were sponsored by Sam and Evelyn Katz, one, Joseph and Joel Hanunu, the second one, Benjamin and Rosa Perelman is a 3rd one, and Errol and Claudia Feldman a 4th one. And there's one Chumash that's still available for sponsorship. And out of the 54 Torah portions, there are about 34 left for sponsorship. So please, to participate, do just, let me know. And I said that she would live in the Torah in our shul. I want to share with you just a little thing that no one knows. One person once asked me, by the Stender, there is a brown cloth, and that cloth has wax on it from some historic dancing and candles that has wine in it. And for the high holidays, someone said, okay, Rabbi, we'll take this, and oh, put that back. He asked me why. He said, because someone special gave that to me, and she's with me in my prayers. And that's why it's there. So yes, people, it's beautiful to be spiritual, but we have to have physical things in which to connect. Keep a picture of Rosi next to you. It'll always make you